They say time waits for no one, but I waited for time. I waited for it to be convenient, for the stars to align, for the work to be done, the bank account to be full, for everything to be just right. And I was so busy watching the clock, counting the days, pushing life to some distant, imaginary horizon, that I didn't feel the pages of my own story turning. And by the time I realized what that waiting was costing me, it was already too late to get those years back. I spent most of my life, the marrow of my years, operating on a single comforting belief that there would always be time later, time to travel later, time to rest later, time to just sit on the porch with the people I loved, watching the sunset without a single thought about the next paycheck, the next contract. That would come later, too. I told myself I was being responsible, a provider, a solid man, that building a secure future for my family mattered more than my presence in the messy, ordinary now, and for a while that felt noble. It powered me through long days, but somewhere along the line, responsibility hardened into an excuse, and waiting, it crystallized into a habit, an automatic response to any whisper of spontaneity or joy. Not now, later. I was a builder, 35 years in construction. I could read a blueprint, frame a house, make something stand that would last a century. I taught my hands to be precise, my mind to solve problems, but I never learned how to build balance. That wasn't on any blueprint. I became an architect of absence. I skipped my son's 10th birthday to pour a foundation. I told him, "We'll celebrate big on the weekend, buddy." The weekend came, but the moment, that particular light in his eyes on turning double digits, it had passed. I postponed a family trip to the mountains for next summer, when the workload would be lighter. Next summer became a mantra, a promise I kept moving like a mirage, just one more year down the road. I canceled dinners, left early, arrived home when the house was dark and still, my dinner plate waiting in the microwave. Work needed me, or so I believed, and all the while, my children grew, they changed. They became people with their own whispers and dreams and quiet struggles, while I, in so many ways that mattered, stood still, a fixture in their lives like a familiar piece of furniture, but not always a presence. I didn't notice the transition, the slow fade from "Daddy, play with me," to a respectful, distant "Hey, Dad." I was too busy listening for the phone to ring, until one day, the noise I was so used to just stopped. The sports games ended, the school plays were over, the chaotic, beautiful soundtrack of a full house gave way to silence. My house became quiet, and I realized with a sinking heart that the quiet had been creeping in for years. I just hadn't been there to hear it start. The real jolt, though, came after I thought I'd earned my quiet. I had retired, the gold watch was in a drawer, the deadlines were someone else's problem. I had finally arrived at the later I'd been waiting for. One evening, my 7-year-old granddaughter was over, drawing at the kitchen table. I was nearby, but my mind was nowhere, replaying old problems, worrying about investments, just mentally pacing in the empty space I'd created. She looked up at me, her head tilted, and she asked me something so simple, so devastatingly clear. "Grandpa, why are you always so busy even when you're not working?" Her question didn't just stop me. It made me, because she was right. I was still busy in my mind, busy carrying the weight of a lifetime of doing even when there was nothing left to do. I had retired my body but not my soul. I was physically present but mentally, I was still postponing. Years of waiting had trained me, wired me to keep joy, peace, simple connection perpetually on hold. And in the raw honesty of that moment, I realized something profoundly painful. You don't wait until life slows down to start living. Life doesn't politely slow down and then hand you a perfect, open space. No, life slows down only after you've already missed what matters most. The slowdown isn't the starting line. It's often the evidence of the race you didn't run. I had been waiting for permission, waiting for freedom. I saw it as a finish line I had to cross. But the brutal, beautiful truth was, I already had it. I'd had it all along. I was just too conditioned to recognize it. I kept trading the currency of now for a future that, when it finally arrived, felt hollow because I'd practiced missing my life for so long. So I started, clumsily, awkwardly, I started showing up. Not perfectly, not magically healed from decades of habit overnight, but deliberately, I made choices that felt foreign. I took slow, meandering walks with my granddaughter. We'd look at bugs and clouds, and I'd force my mind to stay right there, in the dirt and the sky. I called my children, without a reason, no birthday, no holiday, just to hear the cadence of their voice. The first few times they asked, "Is everything okay?" And I'd have to say, "Yes, I just wanted to hear you." I sat quietly at family dinners, not planning my next sentence, not problem solving, just listening, letting their stories wash over me, learning who they were as the adults they'd become while I wasn't looking. I couldn't get the lost years back. The missed birthdays, the silent school plays, the mountain trips that never happened. That pain is a permanent tenant in my heart, but I could make a fierce, daily decision to stop losing the present to the ghost of the past or the illusion of the future. And I see now how subtle waiting can be, how dangerous. It doesn't look like laziness. It's much more clever than that. It wears the mask of virtue. It looks like being prepared. It sounds like being careful. It justifies itself as being responsible. We applaud it in ourselves and in others. But let me tell you what I've learned. Often, so very often, waiting is just fear wearing a practical disguise. Fear that we're not enough. Fear that it might not work out. Fear of the unplanned, the unscripted, the truly lived moment. So we hide behind the not yet, because it feels safer than the right now. I learned this truth late in my life. Too late to reclaim decades, but not too late to change. Not too late to choose differently with the time I have left. And so I leave this with you from the other side of a lifetime of laters. You don't wait for the right moment to live. You create it. You create it by choosing people over plans, by choosing connection over completion, by choosing a 5-minute, fully present conversation over a postponed, perfect vacation. Regret, true, deep regret, it doesn't come from the moments we seize, even if they fail. It comes from the moments we delay. The love we didn't express, the invitation we declined, the quiet hand we didn't hold because we were too busy building a future we might not get to enjoy. So, if you take one thing from my story, let it be this. The saddest words an old man can speak are not "I failed." We all fail. That is living. No, the saddest words are, "I waited. I waited to be happy. I waited to say, I love you. I waited to live until I felt ready." Because time itself doesn't steal our lives, our waiting does. Don't wait.